Hi, I'm John. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to build a fire. We're here in the beautiful Chattanooga Canyon, about 20 minutes away from Chaffey College, and we're looking at the resources that we have around us. So, let's say you find yourself in a situation where you're stuck out here at night. It's freezing cold, you're with a friend, they're hurt, you have no way to get out. You're going to need a source of warmth. And sometimes that can be between life and death. So, there's a few things that we're going to talk about today. One is going to be the resources that you need. Two is going to be how to find and how to identify those resources. So here right next to us, we can see a dried bush. Now, honestly, anything dry is going to work just fine. You don't want to pick up things that are green. You don't want to pick up things that look like they're alive because those are going to be really hard to light. So this is called tinder. It's not necessarily a plant, but it's essentially what you use to start fires. So this is something that could feed a fire very easily because it's so dry and it's so brittle. There are other things that are more paper-like, so like dried brush. Those are going to be great as well. So the last thing that we're going to look at out here is how to do this responsibly. We live in California and we're subject to a lot of droughts and a lot of really bad forest fires. So the last thing we need is somebody causing another one. So I'm not going to be making a fire out here because that would be very irresponsible of me. But if for whatever reason there is a situation where I would have to, this would be an ideal place. It's farther away from the brush. It has a lot of dirt around it that won't catch fire. This is what you're really looking for. This would be a perfect place to set up a fire for the night. All right, so here we are in a fire pit. As I mentioned before, I was going to do this in a more controlled location. This is the perfect place here in my backyard. So these are the supplies that we collected while we were over there. We have our tinder. So we have dried brush. Some more dried brush here, some plants. This is more like it has more of a cottony consistency, so it catches very easily. We have our sticks that we're going to use to build a fire, and these are some alternatives that you can use at home. Let's say like, or in a situation out in Texas right now, for instance, you might not be able to go outside, it's so cold, the brush would be frozen. So you could use cotton balls and newspaper as an alternative for tinder. So, one last supply that you're going to need, you could do this with matches, but the whole point of this is to show how to do it without matches. This is called a ferro rod. So it's essentially the modern flint and steel. Essentially what this does is it throws sparks. So you can use different things, you don't need to use, this is just what it comes with. You can get these fairly cheap. I got this for $10 on Etsy, and it works just fine. So it throws sparks relatively easily. You can also use the back of your knife. You don't want to use the blade because it can mess it up. If you have a pocket knife, you can use it, but of course with different things it'll be more difficult to use. So what we're going to do first, we're going to take our tinder bundle here, we're going to put it right in the center, and we're going to build smaller sticks around it. It doesn't need to be anything crazy, just very small ones at first, then they slightly get bigger. If you have bigger sticks like this, you can lay them up next to a rock and stomp down on them to break them. So essentially your goal is to make a small little teepee, essentially, just how like we see in the movies. And then what we do is we take our ferro rod. I'm going to use the back of the knife, just I prefer it. And we set up like a little cave looking type thing right here. So you see it's closed off on the back, and there's an opening here in front. So that's where we're going to throw our spark so it can catch. So here, we take the back of our knife, we grip it firmly. We grip this firmly also. You're not going to do it like this. I've seen a lot of people try to do that. So what you want to do is you want to have it angled away like this, and then with a strong stroke you throw sparks. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna go closer. Then we blow to feed the fire more. And then here we have the makings of a nice small fire. Now, what I would do at this point is I would feed it a little bit more. because dry brush burns very, very quickly. So there's a chance that your wood or your sticks or whatever it is won't burn right away. So here, it looks like we have a good little fire going. Now what we do is we just feed this throughout the night. Consistently, you just see it dying down. Another thing you can do, you blow on the fire, so you add oxygen to it so the flame gets bigger. So you just get a little close. You don't get too close, you don't want to burn yourself. And then it just slowly starts to die once it starts to calm down. So that is how you make a fire without matches. If you are going to do this in a situation, you know, out in the outdoors, you really want to make sure to have it completely dead by the time you leave it. You don't want to leave any embers. You don't want to leave, you know, anything that looks like it's a little lit. That's how forest fires happen. Of course, this is a skill that I believe is important to have, but if you're going to have this skill, you need to do this responsibly. This isn't something that should really be played with, you know. I mean, we live in California. We understand the risks to all of this. But thank you. I hope you found this educational and enjoyable. So I hope you have a good night.